Hello, my name is Ashley, this is Faithful Rattos, and welcome or welcome back. So, in today's video, this is the long-awaited breeding plans, updates, malarkey haul video. It has been 10 months in the making almost. I have been thinking about this for 10 months and I've been preparing and planning and talking to people, and it's all been going on behind the scenes. But that is not me. I love sharing things. I love sharing what I'm currently going through with my rat keeping journey and obviously soon to be breeding journey. That is, I think, what makes my channel what my channel is. Lots of people have rat channels and they go about it in a slightly different way, you know, but for me, I like to share my knowledge and what I'm going through right now. And it's been so difficult not really talking about this with a lot of people because it's not in my nature. My nature is to blab and to talk, and obviously everything that I say in this video could be subject to change because, you know, plans sometimes don't get followed through. But these are my current plans, my current ideas, and I wanted to talk to you about why I want to stop breeding and stuff like that. So that is what this video is. I really hope that you enjoy it. I will just say, as I guess a little disclaimer, that just because I'm really comfortable with talking about these things and sharing these things, that doesn't mean that everybody is, and that it doesn't mean that everybody has to be. Some people like to keep this part of the process private, and that is totally cool. But I think, from my perspective as somebody who makes videos about my life here on the YouTubes, I think it's really helpful to talk about this sort of process between going from a pet keeper only to being a breeder as well. And that in-between process is not something that a lot of people talk about, and there's hardly any videos about this on YouTube. And when you type in rat breeding on YouTube, most of the videos that you'll see are feeder breeders breeding in really bad conditions. So I'm really hoping that my channel can be a place where people in the future, if they want to get into breeding, can get a little bit of information and see what the process is like, because I think it's really important to know what you're getting yourself into before you go head first. And I think this information isn't available at all. So here's me giving you the information. So a little bit of context: I am in the UK, if you can't tell from my accent, and I am a registered member of the NFRS, which is the National Fancy Rat Society. This is our national club here in the UK for fancy rats, and I think it's really super important that if you are going ahead with a breeding project, that you are involved in your local community and your sort of rat clubs, if they do exist. So in the UK, that is being a part of the NFRS and any of the regional clubs. So, you know, NERS, which is the North of England Rat Society, or MRC, which is the Midlands Rat Club. So I think that's a really important part. So that's me. I have been keeping rats now for about 4 years. 4 years tomorrow exactly is my rat keeping anniversary. So before we get into the what, why, when, how, well, and all that, I have a couple of notes to give you. So the first thing I've already mentioned is things don't always go to plan. So anything that I say, especially the timelines, is very subject to change and has been subject to change this entire 10 months. Take those timings with a pinch of salt, because those are my projected timelines, what I wish for, but that doesn't mean that's actually what will happen. So the second thing is that my applications are open currently, and I do have a private homing group on Facebook for people who have sort of passed that application form. Now, it's not a test, it's merely so that we can communicate and understand where each other are on their rat keeping journey, I guess, and where you fall, how experienced you are, if you need any advice and things like that. I will only send the link though to people who either email me or message me on Facebook or Instagram, I guess. So if you are interested in homing rats from me in the future, obviously it'll be at least a year and a half from now. If you are interested, you can send me a message or an email and I'll send you the link and I'll discuss your form with you. But obviously it's way in the future. The third thing is that I am currently on the breeders list, the NFRS breeders list, which is like a directory, I guess, of breeders. I am on there, and you can find my details on there but you're here, so you already know what my details are. And then the last thing before I get into the who, what, why, when, how, and the questions is I had commissioned Hannah, who is Hannah's Rats on Instagram, who has done all my logos in the past. So the one that I currently use on YouTube, the one that is my little profile picture here on YouTube, this one there, that one, my other one where I was holding my 6 rats, And my current Rattery logo, Hannah has done all of them and she's wonderful, it's amazing, I love them. But this is my logo for my Rattery. I think this is just perfect. I absolutely love sunflowers, thanks to this guy, Vincent van Gogh. This is a Vincent van Gogh here. And not the real one, sadly. But anyway, so yeah, this is my logo. I think it's absolutely perfect. I wanted something that was distinct for my Rattery separately, so that I can have my online presence, but my online presence isn't the Rattery, if that makes sense. So this is the logo for the Rattery. I think it's really great. I absolutely love it. She did a great job. Let's get into the information, because this has been 6 minutes already of me just blabbing because I'm so excited to talk about this, as you can tell. So the first one is why. Why me? Why now? All that good stuff. So why? The first reason is preservation, for preservation of the specific varieties, and also preservation of fancy rats as a species in general. I think it's really important that we have well-bred, healthy, solid, sound rats to pass into future generations for posterity and all that. They are a wonderful, wonderful pet, and I would hate to see the well-bred lines die out, and I want to be part of keeping them going. So that is one of the reasons. And preservation of the Burmese gene in specific as well. This is a gene that if we lose it, we probably will lose it for good, because the way that it works, if it's not being bred for, people will breed away from it and it will disappear into the ether. And I'm really passionate about this specific variety. I absolutely love Burmese and the Burmese sort of family of varieties, and if we don't breed with this specific gene, it will get lost. It is not something that you can make from other things. So for example, if you really love Russian Dove Agouti, but all of the Russian Dove Agoutis like just went out of existence, you could still make Russian Dove Agouti. You would just need the Russian gene and you need mink, probably both minks, but you could make it, or maybe chocolate, you could make it out of other genes. Like if all of the Russian Dove Agouti just like poofed out of existence, which it probably won't because it's a really popular variety, but if that did happen, you'd be able to get it back. It's not the case for Burmese. You can't make it from other things, you need that gene. So that is part of the reason why I don't want us to lose Burmese, because I think it is a gorgeous variety. So the second reason sort of goes on from that is I want happy, healthy pet rats to exist. And if ethical breeders were to stop breeding, if people weren't carrying on those lines, we would have far, far, far too many poorly bred rats, whether that be from breeding males, you know, places like Pets at Home and pet shops and things like that, or backyard breeders or feeder breeders who aren't focusing on health and temperament. I really do not want the entire body of work of rat breeders from 50 years ago to be gone in the bin. So that is another reason I think healthy, sound pet rats have a better life than rats who are riddled with health issues or behavioural problems and things like that. So yes, that is the second reason. I really want there to be healthy, happy pet rats available in the future, which is kind of the same as the first one, but yeah. I also love showing my rats, and it is one thing to show rats you've got from other people, but when you have your own rats that you have bred, that you have put work into, I think it makes those wins extra special, and that's something that I want to do. And I absolutely love showing. I think showing and breeding really do go hand in hand, especially here in the UK. We use showing as a tool to help our breeding programs remain good and improve, to have other eyes on our rats to make sure that they have solid type and things like that. So that is why. One thing that I will say here though is I am not breeding for profit. I believe that anyone who is breeding animals for profit is doing a wrong thing. We should not be using animals as profit makers. I think I really don't like it. And that is an ethics debate that we could get into, but that is not something that I'm here for. I will not be breeding for profit. And I don't believe that any breeders of any species of animals should be in it for the money. That's my personal take. But yeah, so I will not be breeding for profit, and I will not be breeding for demand. I'll be breeding to keep my lines going, and there will be surplus after that, because obviously I can't keep all the rats. Not all the rats will be breeding quality and things like that, but yes. I will not be making a lot of money from this endeavour. I will probably be losing it. Yay! What? This is the exciting question. I've sort of mentioned it a little bit, and I will be breeding Burmese and Wheaten, which is the agouti version. So you have Burmese and Wheaten, Wheaten being the agouti version of Burmese, Burmese being like the self or black version, with the Russian blue gene. So this will create a variety of possible rats, variety-wise. So you'll have Burmese, Wheaten, Russian Burmese, Russian Wheaten, Sable Burmese, Sable Wheaten, Russian Sable Wheaten, Russian Sable Burmese, Siamese, black and white, black and white, black and red eye, and then also Blue Point Siamese, black and red eye. So those are the varieties that will possibly be available, with a primary focus on Burmese and Wheaten with Russian. I will be breeding away from, if possible, the Sables. They're just not my cup of tea. I just don't, it's not my preference. So probably there'll be more Siamese than Sables available, but Sables will probably happen. You know, I'm going to have to breed two Burms together and get Sables at some point. So Sables will be available as well. So those are that's what I want to be breeding. I just absolutely love shaded rats. I love all shaded rats, but specifically the Burmese. I think it's so pretty and it's lovely, and I would hate to see it get, you know, lost to the progress of time. So that is why I've chosen this. And a logical sort of way of looking at it, why this variety, is my first ethically bred rats were from Rainmaker, and they're actually these rats in the middle of this picture here. But my first ethically bred rats were a Burmese, a Wheaten and a Siamese, and they were lovely, lovely rats, and it was an amazing experience, and that's what got me into the fancy in general. That's probably the reason why they've got a soft spot for me, is because my first ethically bred rats were those varieties, but they still remain a tried and true favourite of mine. And I have heard from a lot of breeders when I was asking for advice earlier on in the year, is that it's going to be hard at times, and you need to make sure that you love the rats that you're breeding, that you love the variety, that you love the temperament of the line, and you love the line like to death. Otherwise, the hard parts of breeding aren't going to be worth it if you don't absolutely adore the line of rats that you're working with. So that's why. That's why I've chosen these ones, because I love them, and I will love them to my dying day. I think they're so beautiful. I realise now just how like crazy I might seem in this video, but it's because I'm so excited, and it's like my special interest, hyperfixation, and yeah, this is me. This is what I'm generally like. I'm a very obsessive person. I don't know whether you can tell. But yes. Next, we're going to talk about who will I be breeding from. So the most unknown thing is the does. Obviously, I am waiting on them being born at other breeders' ratteries, so I'm just waiting. I have a really big preference on where I'm going to get them from, and hopefully that will work out, but it may not, and that's okay. So I have a couple of options. Lots of breeders have been absolutely willing to help me. But given the circumstances, nothing has worked out yet, which is fine. But we're waiting. So the does haven't been born yet. That is what we're waiting for. I'm really grateful for every breeder that has offered help across this year, whether that is sort of specifically with breeding rats in mind or just advice. But yes. And the really, really exciting thing that I've been sort of like teasing, I guess, the past couple of months, is that if Kiryu stays in top health condition and his type remains excellent as he grows up, Kiryu will hopefully sire my first litters. So hopefully Kiryu will be my foundation rat. When I went to pick up my rats from Hayley back in August, this was exactly on my mind. She had already allocated Grover to me because she didn't need another het tongue for her plans, and she had a couple of rats that I was choosing from for my second rat. And there was Kiryu, who we think is a Siamese. He could be a Himalayan, but he's probably Siamese. And some lighters, who we think were either Himalayans or pink eye whites. I can't really remember, I don't have those rats. So I was choosing, and part of the reason why I chose Kiryu, besides the other one, is because the Siamese would be helpful for my lines and I could use them. And I had permission from everyone involved. So I have Hayley's permission to use him, and also the rats that Hayley used for that litter, I have that breeder's permission as well. So Kiryu, if everything goes well, if he stays in tip-top health and he doesn't turn into a angsty teenager and causing problems like that, which I don't think he will. He's an absolutely lovely boy. If that does happen, then I will be hopefully using him to sire litters. Now, obviously that may not work out, it may not take, and I may have to go down a different route, but that is the plan. So yeah, that's really, really exciting, and he is a really special boy, and despite the whole thing with the abscess, he is an incredible little rat. He is gorgeous. I don't know whether he'd win Best in Show. I don't even know if I'd be able to show him now that he's got a scar. So Kiryu is hopefully going to sire the litters in the future. That could change dependent on him and how he develops, but that is the plan, hopefully. Yeah, which is really exciting, and it's something that I've been dying to tell people, but there you go. And when, I've kind of already gone over this, so it will likely be spring or summer 2025 when I get babies that are ready. So that will probably be the dose, but I might get a couple of books just in case. So that will be spring summer 2025 based on when those rats are born. Will depend on when I get them, obviously. And then it will probably happen 6 to 9 months after that. So rats are generally ready, depending on the line, to be bred from about 6 to 8 months. It really depends. To give yourself a bit more time, some people do breed a little bit earlier, around 6 months, but you generally want to have, if you're going to have multiple litters out of a rat, you want the first litter to be probably around 8 months, because they spend a good almost 2 months with their litters. You want to give them time to rest in between as well, so you want to breed from around that 8 month mark. So it will be about 6 to 9 months after I get them that they will hopefully have their litter and raise a litter, and then after that they will be ready for homing, if I have any spare, that is. Sometimes you have really small litters and you don't have any spare, and that's totally cool. So yeah, those are the W's of my rat breeding. Now there's a couple more questions that people have asked either on Instagram or on my YouTube comments. So some of these multiple people have asked, so they're not specific from one person, but I will go through them because there's some interesting questions here. So one person asked, how do you pick which rats to breed with? So this is based on a variety of things. One, they have to be healthy, so they can't be sniffly, or they can't have had any sort of infections or things like that. Injury is slightly different because injury is not caused by their health, and actually if they had healed from that really well, that shows a good immune system, so that's okay. As with Kiryu, he obviously had this injury. It wasn't a health issue necessarily. So they need to be healthy and sound in that regard. They need to have good type. Now, no rat is going to have perfect type, and you do need to bear that in mind when who you're pairing them to not breed two rats together with the same fault. However, you do want them to have good solid type, so that's part of it. So that is how they're built, their proportions and things like that. And you want them to come from an ethical breeder. That is one of the things. Now, I think there is a debate when we're talking about new genes or new varieties and things like that, and experimental breeding. But if you're starting to breed, you don't want to be breeding with experimental stuff and stuff like that. So you want to get them from an ethical breeder to start before you get into all those different possibilities of things. Another person was interested in maternity cages, breeder cages and things like that. So my plan is probably to use like hamster cages for birthing, just to keep it small. I know some people do use Alaskas, and that's fine. Then my plan would be to move up to Alaskas when kittens break the nest. Hopefully when they're big enough, this will also have wheels in the cage as well. So this will probably be 14 or 12 inch Tic Tacs, and then obviously full of enrichment and things for the babies to explore. But yeah, so that will probably be the cages that I use. Although if I happen across any of the cages before then, whether that is secondhand or buying them just from a shop, that might happen. But those are my plans as of now, and I have those cages. So if I were to have litters right this second, I would have the cages available. Somebody asked, will I see my breeding rats as pets? And the answer is yes. I do think our relationship will change, but I will see them as my pets, and I will still care for them at the same standard as I care for my pets now. I think there will maybe be times where I'll have to compromise on certain things, and that it is a reality of having a large amount of rats. But the number of rats that I have now is about how many I'll probably have ongoing, but minus all the babies, obviously. So I don't think my actual care will change that much. It could do. I'm not planning for it, and I will still see them as my pets. I think the relationship does change though when you start to breed. Why those varieties? I think I've covered that a little bit, but I just love them. I just love them. Love them to death. What made me want to breed? So I am surrounded by wonderful, ethical, amazing breeders who are passionate about rats, and I feel the exact same way when it comes to rats. I am passionate about them as pets, and I am passionate about them being there in the future for other people to enjoy, and that's why. And I just love this community. It is like, as you can tell, it's become like my whole entire personality. But yeah, that's why. And I think that I would bring something that other people maybe don't. Then somebody asked, how will you socialize babies? Now, obviously, I am not experienced with this at all, but there are a couple of things that you will need to keep in mind. So the first one is that their genetic temperament is important. I plan to make sure the cages are enriching, that they have enriching free roam opportunities, that they are comfortable with people, with me and my household, but also other people as well. Yes, the ins and outs of it I'll probably make a video about in the future, because it's not something I'm experienced on now. And then the last question, which I thought was a really interesting question, is stress to the mother. How to reduce it, how to relieve it. So one of the things is that after pairing, you want to keep her life as normal as possible up until the last sort of half a week before she is due to give birth. And at this time, this is when you get the maternity cage ready and get her settled in that environment. However, this means no intros, no new rats, no loud guests and parties in her house while she is pregnant. So as we know from humans, epigenetics is huge. The stress on your mum when you are in utero is really, it goes directly to you, and that will then go to the eggs for the next generation. So it's really important to keep her stress as minimal as possible. So this is like no intros in her group, keep her cage pretty similar, so don't plan a massive cage clean out right in the middle when she's in her pregnancy. Keep all that normal and calm and relaxing. If you want to think about just stress and how to relieve stress in rats in general, I really recommend going over to Alison Campbell's channel and checking out her videos that she's done for the Ratwise Nature and Nurture event. Those are really, really informative videos that I think are priceless when it comes to rats in general, but also when raising litters and caring for pregnant and mother rats. So yes, go and look at those videos. I'll leave a link to Alison's channel in my description so you can go and see them. But yes, those are my thoughts, my plans, my breeding aims, all of that stuff. I am so super excited to have this video out, and it feels really festive to have it out just before Christmas. Like I'm giving you a little present. Here are my plans, and it's really nice for me that I can like now get this off my shoulders, that I've talked about it, because I've been wanting to talk about this for so long. I am planning to do a little Christmassy short vlog for you on Christmas Day, so it'll be like me before Christmas Day, obviously, so look out for that. And yes, my next proper video will be what I spent on my rats in 2024, which is a lot of money. I'll just give you a spoiler right then and there. But yes, if you are at all interested in hearing and seeing how my breeding journey goes, please do stick around and subscribe to see how my journey unfolds. If you have anything to say, please do leave it in the comments. Give me a like, as that really does help me out. And yes, thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!